It's 10 o'clock. Please can I welcome everyone to this meeting of the Licensing Subcommittee taking place from the Wharton Suite, Winchester Guildhall. My name is Councillor Patrick Cunningham, one of the committee members of this particular Licensing Subcommittee. The open parts of this meeting is audio recorded, live streamed, and will be available on the Council's YouTube channel. Subtitles are available, and advice on how to turn this on is set out in our website. If you are joining us online, please turn your camera and microphone off until your item. Can everyone please ensure mobile phones are on silent? Lastly, please can I remind members, guests and officers to use their microphones and speak directly into them. Please do not turn away when speaking to enable your comments to be picked up on the recording of the meeting. In the unlikely event that it is necessary to evacuate the building, the fire alarm will sound. Please follow all the instructions given to you by our team. Now, moving on to the agenda and the procedure for this meeting. To confirm a chairperson for the meeting, please have any interests that they wish to declare. Thank you. Moving on then to the meeting itself. The application for a new premises license, Papa John's, 72 to 74 St. George's Street, Winchester, SO23 8AH. Report number LR 568. The hearings regulations require that the hearing should take the form of a discussion led by the subcommittee, and that cross-examination will not normally be allowed. We will be following the adopted procedure for these hearings, which is set out on the reverse of the agenda paper. Each party will be allowed equal maximum time to exercise their rights at the hearing. I will exercise my discretion to allow additional time if necessary, taking into account the requirement to allow all parties equal maximum time. Only those points contained in the written representations, the report, and supplementary documents can be raised. No new evidence from this point can be considered except at the agreement of all parties. All parties. The subcommittee has read all the written comments on the application. That Anshul Qatar and Suvagata Day are representing the applicant in this case?
That's correct, sir.
And the other persons, that Calvin Collymore and Lee Davis on behalf of the Vodka Bar and Nightclub are also in attendance. Thank you. We can only consider issues relating to the 4 licensing objectives: prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, prevention of public nuisance, and protection of children. The subcommittee will also have regard to the national guidance and the Council's licensing policy. Can I now call on the licensing manager to introduce the report?
Chairman. This report relates to an application for the grant of a new premises licence under Section 17 of the Licensing Act 2003, Papa John's, 72 to 74 St George's Street, Winchester. Premises is described in the application as Papa John's Pizza franchise, which serves takeaway food via collection and delivery only. There is no seating for customers to consume food on the premises. Premises is currently open to customers between 11 a.m. and 11 p.m. 2300. This is without a license, and no license is required during those times. The application proposes the provision of late night refreshment between 2300 and 0300. The application form can be seen on pages 13 to 34 of the report. No representations were received by any responsible authorities. However, representations have been received from 2 other persons, both of which are against the application. Representations are set out in Appendix 2 to this report on page 35. And these relate to the prevention of crime and disorder, the prevention of public nuisance licensing objectives. As you're aware, Calvin Collymore and Lee Davies are here to represent the Vodka today. Should the subcommittee be minded to grant the application, there are conditions set out on page 10 of the report to consider. Members may also wish to add additional conditions which are appropriate to promote the licensing objectives. Should discuss these during the hearing so that the applicant has the opportunity to respond and explain how this may affect their business operation. That concludes my introduction. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Carol. Members, do we have any questions for the...
Yeah, I do, if that's okay.
Right, thank you.
Just going to go, just for clarity, page 31 of the report.
Forgive me, Councillor. The questions are directed, I believe, manager following her. Is that correct? Is that what you're answering? Councillor, yes? Not yet. I believe
Okay.
that there'll be an opportunity shortly.
Okay, apologies, sorry.
Can I ask the applicant if he's got any... like to make his presentation?
We don't have any queries at them.
No queries, okay. Thank you.
Not at the moment.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
If you'd like to make your presentation now, thank you.
Good morning. Application for the grant of premises license under Section 17 of the Licensing Act 2003. Yeah. And the licensing officer has kindly presented the report and it's already contained in the bundle, which are not repeated. But the committee would be aware that the Papa John's has already serving this from these premises for almost 2 years, and they have they're running the premises currently, which is open to customers from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. in the night. And over the last 2 years, the committee would note that the applicant hasn't received any single complaints from any of the neighbors or indeed from any of the residents during the time they operate. And the committee would also note that there is no representations received from the responsible authorities. And the application has been presented to all the responsible authorities and haven't received any single objection or any single complaints from any of the authorities. For example, the environmental health, the constabulary, child protection team, building control, none at all, which is very important. The applicant appreciates that there are 2 complaints from the other persons, which we are going to respond to in a minute. On the issue of those two objections are outlined in page 35 of the papers. And the first one is from Vodka Bar. The second one is from Mr. Collins on the 11 of Upper Brook Street. For the assistance of the committee, we have outlined a brief summary of submission, what we are going to submit. This is based on the information contained in spec. No new information is provided here. And we have also submitted a picture of the shop where the Papa John's is based, just to assist the Honorable Committee with the application. So the first objection from the vodka bar and nightclub, it relates to the objective in relation to the prevention of crime and disorder. So according to the representation, it has been said that this will create problems for vodka bars security team. The applicant submits that the vodka bar's entrance and exit is in the complete opposite side of the common parking space. This is where exactly Papa John's is based. You cannot actually see vodka bar from this picture. It's on the other side of the road. Entrance is different. And all the customers that will be coming for pizza to Papa John's, they'll be coming from this side of this premises. They're not going to use their vodka bar entrance or exit. So it's extremely unlikely that this is going to cause any disruption for the vodka bar premises. It's been said that it will potentially bring more people to the Upper Brook Street area for the City of the Food. And this will cause people to linger in the area, which could potentially cause an issue for the security team in relation to public nuisance. As I'm sure the residents will have noise complaints as the Papa John's customers will be right under the flats. So it's the committee will note that on top of Papa John's premises, there are several flats exactly in the same building. And the committee has not received the council any complaints or any objections from any of the residents who is living on those flats. So there is no complaints, no representation has been made by the residents who are actually living on top of the pizza shop there. So the applicant appreciates that their objections, but the committee would note that these objections are based on speculations. That hasn't happened yet. That hasn't happened over the period of last 2 years. During the time that has opened. Especially, the committee will also note that the time of the operation, the business is actually, the busiest time of the business is between 7 to 11 o'clock. After midnight, is only the shop will be open to provide refreshments for the people because there is a huge demand, and the applicant has conducted a survey which whereby it was seen that the business would be benefited by the late night opening. And of course, the number of the crowds that people they will be coming will be decreased after midnight. So the fact the applicant is trying to say is that they have been opening, they have kept the premises open for last 2 years from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. There hasn't been a single complaints. The drivers and delivery drivers and all the customers are coming. If that was the case, then surely there would have been complaints, so the council would have received objections from the neighbors. As much as the applicant appreciates the objections, it is respectfully submitted that these objections are based on mere speculations. And the applicant has clearly outlined the steps that he will be taking with regards to the prevention of public nuisance and crime, and which are not repeated. I'm not going to repeat for the sake of brevity. So it could create the parking of not the loading and unloading of the vehicle could at best create some sort of inconvenience for the security staff of vodka bar. But the committee would also appreciate that the applicant has the right to enjoy his property and he has the right to do his business without any form of hindrance. And he is more than happy to cooperate with the vodka bar and any other businesses in the locality so that, together they can work together and it's good for the community, it's good for the business. The second point has been raised in the first objection is the residents would very likely raise complaints. So then again, the Honorable Chair will note that this is not strictly a matter for the vodka bar. As I have already mentioned that none of the 10 responsible authorities have so far raised any concern in this regard. Of course, we have received an objection from Mr. Collins, which I'm going to deal with later. But apart from that, none of the residents who are living in the close proximity of the applicant's business has raised any complaints. At least not from anyone who is living above the flats. There is a possibility for raising complaints. This is only a possibility. Anyone can raise a complaint, but so far in 2 years time period, it's quite a long time for any residents to raise complaints. The fact that no complaints has been received over the last 2 years, on that basis, it's very likely, it's safe to say, it's fair to say that it's unlikely that the residents will raise any complaints because they haven't done so, where they could raise complaints, but they haven't made any complaints over the last 2 years. The third point is pizza customers would likely become hostile with the security team of vodka bar. It is again is an assumption because there is no way in the applicant submission, there is no way one can determine that what would be the nature of the pizza customers would be and how the pizza customer, those people who would be buying pizza would behave differently than the people who would be coming to the vodka club. Because it has been stated in the application form, it's been stated in the submission that the premises would not serve any alcohol, and the foods that would be sold, will be sold for off the premises. The delivery drivers will be coming, and they will be taking the foods away, and there will be clear provisions for any sort of packets, pizzas, packs, or so that they can dispose of the rubbish and other stuff. The applicant has clearly stated that the steps that he will be taking it is contained in page 31, i.e. In page called section D. The applicant has said that prominent, clear, and legible notices will be displayed at all exits, requesting the public to respect the needs of nearby residents and to leave the premises and the area quietly. Deliveries of materials necessary for the operation of the business will be carried out at such a time or in such a manner as to prevent nuisance and disturbance to nearby residents. Our deliveries come between 7 a.m. and 10 a.m. only. The applicant then stated that we will ensure that the staff who depart late at night when the business has ceased trading conduct themselves in such a manner to avoid causing disturbance to nearby residents. The next point is the customers will be asked not to stand around talking in the street outside the premises and asked to leave the vicinity quickly and quietly. The next is all our car drivers are aware that they should arrive and depart as quickly as possible, should not sound vehicle horns as a signal of their arrival or leave engines running unnecessarily. We do not have any bike drivers at the moment. The movement of bins and rubbish outside the premises will be kept to a minimum after 10:30 p.m. This will help to reduce the levels of noise produced by the premises. Bright lights on or outside the premises will be positioned and screened in such a way so as to not cause a disturbance to nearby residents. And adequate waste receptacles for use by the customers will be provided in the local vicinity. So the applicant has clearly stated the steps that he will be taking. An applicant is more than happy to consider in the event that the honorable committee finds that any conditions needs to be imposed, or applicant is more than happy to answer any queries the committee might have. But the applicant considers that the steps that he has taken or will be taking is sufficient enough to prevent the public nuisance. And also in relation to the prevention of crime and disorder in section B, which is contained in page 30 of the report, the applicant stated that CCTV system installed to monitor entrance, exits, and other parts of the premises in order to address the prevention of crime objective. The applicant then stated that a clear and legible notice outside the premises indicating the normal hours under the terms of the premises license during which licensable activities are permitted. The next point is, as a late night refreshment premises, customers will not be sought by means of personal solicitation outside or in the. Then prevention and vigilance in illegal drug use at the recital of the unit area. We do not serve or sell alcohol. The food is for takeaway only. There is no sitting arrangement or toilets for customer. Therefore, it is submitted respectfully that the applicant has clearly stated that the steps that he will be taking to make sure that there will be no issues with regards to the crime and disorder. Now, with regards to the issue that has been raised in the objection, that it's again submitted that it's very unlikely and extremely unlikely that the customers, for pizza customers or the delivery driver, would some way behave differently from the customers or the clients of Vodka Bar. So is again, this objection is again based on speculation. There is no alcohol is served in the premises. The drivers are specially trained as to how they should behave when loading and unloading, and the customers, there is no sitting provisions available in the premises, so there is no way the customers can be sitting inside the premises making noises. There only one customer, few customers will be coming at a time, because they are based on a delivery order, so everyone has a specific time. On top of that, the applicant will make sure that none of the delivery drivers or the customers are staying outside the premises more than what is required. And the applicant has a 24-hour CCTV footage, which has the facility for recording as well. In addition to that, the applicant has also considered that has also considered taking a noise survey, and the applicant is indeed taking all the steps so that none of the residents are facing any disruptions. And this is already proved. This is fair to say that the steps that applicant has taken so far is sufficient enough, because so far we haven't received any complaint from anyone. Indeed, the applicant has, this is beside the point, but the applicant has made an application to this council for a special license on the eve of 31st of, and which this is for the applicant has made a special application for the 31st eve on the license. This is not part of the application, for the information of the consideration of the honorable committee. and this license has been approved, granted to the applicant, and there hasn't been any issue with respect to the license that was granted. And the applicant can elaborate further on this when he is making his representation. But the point I'm trying to make is that on the eve of 31st, the new year, the applicant has been granted a special permission for keeping the premises open till late, until 3 a.m. in the morning. And this is the busiest time of the year. No complaint has been received from anybody for that day. So I think the applicant has clearly demonstrated that he is in a position to maintain or comply with the terms and conditions of the council. The
Sorry, sir. I was asking who actually granted you this license of extension to 3 a.m. in the morning? Did you say that the county council?
Sorry, it was a temporary event notice.
But that would have been granted by this authority, correct?
Yes, the sentence license for one night opening only.
You said earlier on that it was the council, the county council.
Or did I say? Oh, that's fine. I apologize.
Chairman, if it's helpful, if a temporary event notice is submitted, that would come to our team. I can check that now if we've received it for you. I think, to be fair, the solicitor today may have been representing in different areas where obviously the county and city council might be merged, so I don't think that's necessarily an issue, but it would have been to us as the relevant authority for a temporary event notice. Thank
you very much, Carol. Thank you. Continue, please.
Indeed, sir. I appreciate. This is not part of this application, just beside the point. This was a temporary license granted for a single event. The next point is that I was raised that Papa John's driver will cause problems to vodka bars customers. Papa John's, this is again, this has not happened yet. Is this based vodka bar authorities? Clearly, the applicant has stated in his application that all the staff receive training on how to avoid altercations and carry out the job professionally and with respect to other members. The committee will note that the applicant has a franchise, runs a business which has 12 stores, which are spread, located in different parts of the country. They are a part of a huge franchise group under Papa John's, and this is all the delivery drivers, all the takeaway drivers, they receive special training and as to how to deliver and how to manage their services without causing any disruption to the members of the public. So this is, they are very much aware of the need because of the fact that they run their business for a sufficient period of time, and they are specially trained. They have the system in place to monitor and to train the staff members as to how to perform their job professionally. In any event, if there is any issue arises in the future with regards to any particular delivery driver, there is a provision for CCTV recording footage. The management of Papa John's will deal with this matter appropriately. And the applicant is more than happy, as has been suggested earlier, to consider any form of conditions the Honorable Committee might impose. But in any event, applicant submits that these issues raised in the first objections are based on simple speculation. The second issue is raised, which is raised by Mr. Collins on the grounds of public nuisance. Firstly, he's raised the issue that his furniture and clothes smells of pizza. The address which is provided by Mr. Collins, it does suggest that his flats is none of the flats which is on top of the Papa John's. And indeed, his flats doesn't feature in this pizza shop is located. The Papa John's pizza shop has an exhaust provisions whereby they have proper facilities and which ensures that the pizza they prepare doesn't create any sort of smells, which is evident from the fact that all the residents living in those flats over the last 2 years have been able to live peacefully, and they have not raised any complaint with regards to the smell of pizza. If that was the case, it is submitted respectfully that these residents who are living on top of the shop would have been the first people who have raised such complaints, but they have not done so. And no responsible authorities have also raised any objection in this regard. The applicant appreciates that anyone can raise an objection, but it is submitted that this objection is not, applicant doesn't agree with this objection because the address of the gentleman, Mr. Collins, he lives actually farthest away from the place where it is. And in any event, the applicant submits that they make sufficient provisions to ensure that the smell of the pizza doesn't actually go away from the outside the premises. The residents living above the premises, nor the residents living in the adjoining eastern those residents who are living in the eastern side and the western side, they have not raised any complaints either. And the location of this Mr. Collins' addresses can be seen in Appendix 4 in map in page 39. The second point has been raised by Mr. Collins is slamming of car doors and engines, mopeds screaming in and out. Again, on this point, the applicant has mentioned in his application that the steps that he will be taking. In particular, he has mentioned that all the drivers should arrive and depart as quickly as possible. They should not sound vehicle horns as a signal of their arrival and leave engines running unnecessarily. We do not have any bike drivers at the moment. The applicant doesn't have any bike drivers at the moment, and they are specially trained as to how they should arrive and depart. Secondly, the applicant will ensure that the staff who depart late at night when the business has ceased trading conduct themselves in such a manner to avoid causing disturbance to nearby residents. The applicant will also confirm that deliveries of materials necessary for operation of business are carried out between 7 a.m. and 10 a.m. only. And the applicant will ensure that prominent, clear, and legible notices will be displayed at all exits, requesting the public to respect the needs of nearby residents to leave the premises and the area quietly. The third point is attract more drunken people, result in shouting and arguing. The applicant response is that the customer will be asked not to stand around talking in the street outside the premises and asked to leave the vicinity quickly and quietly. The CCTV system installed to monitor entrance, exits, and other parts of the premises in order to address the prevention of crime objective. Thirdly, we do not serve or sell alcohol. The food are for takeaway only. There is no sitting arrangement or toilets for customers. Number 4 is a mess from pizza boxes. The applicant would say that adequate waste receptacles for use by customers will be provided in the local vicinity. And the final point is, Mr. Collins said that it will make customers hang out longer. The applicant would say that the movement of bins and rubbish outside the premises will be kept to a minimum after 10:30 p.m. And this will help reduce the noise. As late night refreshment premises, customers will not be sought by means of personal solicitation outside or in the vicinity of the premises. So in particular, the complaint raised by Mr. Collins is to do with the smell of cooking pizzas and making his furniture close stink. We have already submitted to the Honorable Committee that this is clearly not the case, because none of the people who are living in the nearby adjoining flats that have raised any complaints. The applicant finds this extraordinary that the smell of the pizza and cooking can go to that far and make his furniture and clothes stink of the smell. The issue of slumming and car doors and engines, these are all again speculations. Indeed, if that was the case, and if that was happening over the last period of 2 years, the other residents or the residents because Mr. Collins's house is quite far from where the shop is located. So again, these issues are based on speculation. It will encourage more drunken people to descend on the area. This particular line suggests that the applicant is selling or something or doing any business which is likely to attract drunken people. Clearly, the applicant is selling pizza. The applicant confirms that he is not serving any alcohol. It is not in their plan sometime now or in the near future that Papa Zone will be serving alcohol. And the applicant does not operate a club. There is no provision for music. So there is no way by selling simple pizza delivery would attract more drunken people to come to this area. The applicant clearly does not agree with this objection. And it will cause more serious nuisance, shouting and arguing, and even more mess from empty pizza boxes. The applicant has already made provisions that there will be sufficient provision for disposal of pizza boxes. And he will make sure that none of the delivery drivers and the people who will be coming for collection of the pizza, they wouldn't stay outside the premises for more than what is required. I know and then the last line Mr. Collins stated in his objection is that it's a city center, a nightclub is very close. This is just make the customers hang about longer too. With respect, the business of the nightclub is completely different than what the applicant is doing. And the nightclub has got no connection with the applicant's business. Indeed, the applicant considers that it will help not only the nightclub customers as well as the people from the local community, because there has been a demand in this area where people will be benefited from the late night opening of the applicant's business, because there is a open in the area which is quite far. I think there is another pizza shop, but there is no nearby. There is no restaurant or anything open in this surrounding area, which is open until late night. So it will hugely boost the people for late night refreshments. It will boost the local economy, as well as it will boost the applicant's business. The applicant is simply intending to run his business peacefully. He doesn't require any license to keep his premises open until 11 o'clock. All he is requesting the Honorable Committee is to keep his premises open till 3 a.m. in the morning, only for few hours. The committee would appreciate that these hours from 11 to 3 a.m. are not the busiest hours. there is no way their collection of pizza and delivery would contradict or affect the business of the nightclub. The nightclub is a separate business. It is not part of this. It is not part of this application, and of course, the committee is not dealing with this issue today. But the applicant believes that the people who has raised the objections, particularly the vodka bar and Mr. Collins, there has an ongoing issue with the applicant's business in relation to the use of shared loading and unloading bay, whereby part of which is also owned by the council. The council has received information and email correspondence from the applicant, and the council, the different committee, the state surveyor committee of the Winchester City Council is currently dealing with this matter. But the licensing application, current licensing application, is a separate matter altogether. But the fact that there is an ongoing dispute with the shared use of a loading and unloading bay, which the vodka authorities considered that it causes some sort of disruption to them, whereas the fact remains that the use of loading and unloading bay should be equally shared by vodka bar and Papa John's. But because there is an ongoing issue which is currently in the process of getting resolved. So, however, the applicant strongly believes that since they are not able to raise this issue because loading and unloading bay is a shared premises, and in as much as vodka bar has the right to use the premises, the applicant also has the right to use the premises. 6 of the European Convention of Human Rights. The applicant cannot raise the people. They cannot raise this issue.
Mr. Day, I'm going to interrupt you just for a moment, if I may. Could you tell me how long you intend to be continuing, or if you're going to a conclusion?
If I can interrupt, Chair, I think the length of time that the applicant wishes to address the committee is an issue. I think what we need to make sure is that your submission to the committee today is relevant to the licence application. An ongoing dispute which is outside of anything that can be dealt with under the Licensing Act isn't something that should be presented today. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for the clarification. I accept and I agree that this is not part of the licensing application today, but there is a separate issue which the council is already dealing with. And what the applicant believes that has led to these objections, and perhaps these objections are connected. That is the applicants only can think about, and I have been asked to raise this to the Honorable Committee. Of course, the applicant has stated that the steps that he will be taking. He has clearly outlined in his application that the steps he will be taking. And he is present here today. He is in a position to answer any queries that the Honorable Committee might have. The applicant is more than happy to consider any conditions that will be imposed by the committee, Honorable Committee. And we respectfully request the Honorable Committee to grant the license as sought to the applicant. And it will only benefit his business, and the applicant will make sure that he is complying with all the conditions of the license. Thank you.
Are you suggesting then that there will be counter service till 3 o'clock in the morning?
Sorry, say that again, sir, please.
Are you suggesting then that you're requesting counter service 3 o'clock in the morning?
Counter service.
Why we are requesting it, you said?
No.
Okay, sorry.
Are you saying that you will take orders and supply food from the counter till 3 o'clock in the morning?
Yes, that's what we are asking for. And If I may just take a minute just to explain the rationale behind this application. We opened this shop around 2 years back, just before pandemic. And despite of all the efforts we have done, we are not making it profitable. And in last 9 months of operation, we have lost around £50,000. We have around 12 shops in the area, mainly in Hampshire. And I did a business, so we do survey with the local customers we are serving, and it took Papa John's around 8 years to find a site in Winchester. As you can see from the picture, this site is not very visible, and when they did a business survey to find out where we are lacking, the Domino's, which is around 5 minutes walk from us, is open until 3 every night, and they have taken a major chunk of customers and the new students who are coming to the university. And that was my rationale and the reason behind applying for it. I have around 15 staff members working there, and it is getting very difficult for them to give them hours and to keep them regular in the job because business is going in loss. And to come over that, this was my desperate need to get extended operational hours. We have asked for the counter services until 3, but currently we do around 20% collection. So 80% of our orders are through delivery and through aggregators. But I'm open to a suggestion here if the counters, because we have licenses in other premises as well around. So we have a group of around 25 stores apart from this company, and we have 8 licenses, and we haven't received any complaints or any revoke of licenses so far from the last 5 years we are trading. So we are open to suggestions where we can have a different timings for the counter services. But ideally, if we do get the counter services, I will be happy to have it because the entrance for this shop has it has a completely different entrance from the front, which is a busy road, and we literally have a bench inside which can sit 1 or 2 people. So there's no sitting outside and there's no sitting inside. And I don't see any reason why will someone stand around there because it's not a very busy area or busy street where people can hang around and see a crowd because we are just on the corner there. So normally my customers don't stand around there.
Yes. Yeah, I understand. Thank you. Can I just ask licensing manager, another question? We have other pizza shops in the city. They don't have a counter service till after 1 o'clock, if I remember rightly. Is there any exceptions to that?
Just to clarify, sorry, had you finished? We wanted to say there. I mean, obviously, we will come back to you anyway, but I think it's useful for the members, albeit there are other premises in the area that do have late night refreshment licenses. This application must be considered on its own merits, but it might be useful, as the applicant has also referred to Domino's, for me to confirm the times. So Domino's Pizza, which is in 49 Upper Brook Street. So if you look at the plan, page 39, you might just be able to see it on there. If you look further north, the number 49, so it's the other side, Vodka Bar nightclub down the other road. They have a late night refreshment license from Sunday to Saturday, 2300 to 0100, and for collection, and they can extend that until 0500 for deliveries only. And that was something that I was going to mention to the committee. The applicants mentioned it there, perhaps in other premises locations that the committee could consider whether there's a differential of times between collection and deliveries. But I think it's important to note that we do have other persons here today to make the representations first, and that's something that perhaps could be discussed later on.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll get back to my question now. Thank you for your presentation. So on page 31, D, prevention of public nuisance. It's mentioned here about running of car engines. You're saying you're running them unnecessarily. Is there any way we could perhaps ask the drivers not to have their engines running? Because obviously that would be a nuisance to residents.
I read that the applicant's suggesting that they wouldn't leave their engines running necessarily. I mean, the applicant confirm about the training, but that's how I would.
Yes, definitely. We have our notices at the exit doors telling the drivers not to leave the engine on. And that's what we have done throughout the premises. And apart from our compliance, we do have a regulation with Papa John's, which do 3 annual visits. And in a part of their OEA compliance, the overall compliance, they do look at the licensing, special licensing we have, and they do also look at all the notices we have in place. And the drivers, they do have a short course online, and the courses tell them what to do and how to behave. And unless they sign up those courses and complete them online, they can't come to a shift. And may I just, sorry, it's not a part of your question, but that's the part of representation. Mr. Day mentioned that we don't have a bike driver. At the point of writing this representation, we didn't have any, but we hired someone recently, but he's working, I think, 3 days. I'm not sure about his shifts, but he's working in the daytime because he got college in the morning, so he finishes around 8 o'clock. We do have a bike driver at the premises at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I have a question, sir. You say in your application that the movement of the bins and the rubbish outside the premises will be kept to a minimum after 10:30, to a minimum. What exactly do you mean by a minimum?
So we do have 2 bins right outside our door, one recycling and one general bin. We don't move those bins. They are just moved by the first waste when they come to collect the rubbish. All we do is put the bins inside them. So by minimum, it means we won't open the bins after that. So we will close the bins, throw the rubbish before 10:30 so they don't slam the bins and make noise of it. We don't need to move those bins. They're just right outside our premises.
So no movement and no opening of the bins after 10:30 is what you're saying?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
And sorry, there's a public bin right outside our shop. So if anyone have to throw some rubbish, it's exactly right outside the shop.
Mr. Day, thank you, Mr. Qatar. Now call upon Calvin Collymore on behalf of the Vodka Nightclub Bar, please.
Right. Everyone can hear me okay? Good.
Great,
Right.
thank you.
Right. Firstly, I'll just start with saying the reason for our objection is nothing to do with the dispute that's going on, anything like that. It's purely to do with, at the moment, we have, as you mentioned already, Domino's at the other end. As a business, we're forever going up to the other end of the building, the security team, with altercations, shouting, issues, trying to keep that at bay. And what we're saying is, if at the other end now, that the Papa John's do the same, our security team are going around doing the same thing. So what we're saying is it's bringing more people to the town where, in a sense, we're trying to get people to leave, but they're going to be coming in from different areas to Papa John's, obviously, as well as Domino's. Understand the residents above haven't objected. That's fair enough. But at the moment, you're trading sort of between 11 and 11 in the evening. So they've not experienced the sort of 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning issues that may happen around the corner. So what our main objection was to do with is just the fact that people lingering around the corner, and obviously Papa John's is nearer to us than Domino's is. There's a little alleyway around the corner that you need to use to get to Papa John's. And if people linger around in that area, making noise, making a mess, it's more work for us in the sense of we have to clean that mess up. When we finish at the end of the night, we will go around, buckets of water, if anyone's been sick or anything else like that. And we don't want added aggravation of having to move customers on from Papa John's if they're open late. Now, I appreciate they say they're going to tell their customers to be quiet when they leave and all the rest of it, but can you answer, how is that going to be policed? How would you police that issue?
You can't cross-examine, I'm afraid.
No?
No.
Okay, but that's one of the points I need to know, because if they were to say, okay, they were to have security in there that monitor issues like that, then that's fair enough. It's not bringing our door staff away from our front doors to deal with issues around, because in a way, we've been there a long time, and we sort of, it's not our responsibility, but we like to make sure all the residents, so all in the area, are okay and happy with what's going on. So any sort of noise or issues, we get the first phone call and we go and sort of deal with it. And we're dealing with enough as it is, and we don't want to have to be going to do extra work because Papa John's are opening late and they're not monitoring it. If they would have their own security there, that they can sort of monitor and keep people quiet and all that, then it might not be so bad. The only other issue we've got is where the collections and deliveries are done or being done, they need to come around the side of our building to the back to load and unload. Well, we have our barriers going across there with our queue stand. And what happened is the drivers keep coming in and out early hours of the morning. We've got to keep moving the barriers, which becomes unsafe. And there has been times when drivers sort of stand there, hand on the horn, getting people to move out the way. But it's never been an issue before, because obviously they close at 11. But it will become an issue later, because obviously people come to us a bit later on. So again, if the drivers were to go around to the front of the building, park up on the pavement around there, that wouldn't affect the queue that's standing, then that might work.
Obviously, prevention of crime and disorder. They said they're going to ask people to leave. How are they going to police that? That's one issue. But obviously, it is going to draw more people to the area, which is going to obviously, again, exhaust our sources. Like Mr. Collingwood just said that, you know, it's going to put more strain on our business to police someone else's business. That's purely why we have put this complaint in. On that picture there, these are not flats, these are offices, by the way. You know, so for those to open, I think, and to be fair, I know he needs to run his business, but our objection is, why should we have to exhaust our licensing objectives to suit theirs?